assistant to the court. He has helped us throughout all of our jury trials and in preparing, and he has been a great asset, and we owe him a huge debt of gratitude. We today were allowed to add additional prospective jurors. We used to have to go through 2 panels, and we'd have to call you later in the day, and it took additional time, but he allowed us to add to the number this morning so we can do this at one time. So you'll find out when we finish voir dire whether you were on the jury or not, rather than having us call you later on. But Jason Kennedy said we need to have everybody wear their mask and keep their mask on throughout the process. So our county health officer has recommended it, and the Office of Judicial Administration requires it. So you have my apologies, but this is something even the judge can't overrule. And that I have to comply with. I don't have to wear my mask up here because of the distancing and also to help me in addressing the various items that have to be covered today. All right, at this time, I'm going to ask all of you to please stand and face Ms. Truen to receive the voir dire oath.
Raise your right hand. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will true answer make to all questions propounded to you by court or by counsel touching upon your qualifications to sit as a juror in this case now and herein, so help you God? Have a seat.
You've already heard me talk a little bit about the importance of jury service, that it is all of our civic responsibility and duty to serve as jurors. You know, when I was a practicing lawyer, friends of mine would get the notice like you received that they were selected to go to a jury trial. And they would call me and they'd say, "Hey, I got this notice. How do I get out of this?" And I would always say, "I'm not going to give you an answer to that. Look, it's your duty. It's your responsibility. Honor it. It's in the Constitution. It's state law. And if we didn't have jurors such as you good folks show up, we couldn't offer to the defendant and the state that constitutional right that our founding fathers guaranteed through the Constitution. That's the right to jury trial." So we would ask everybody to keep that in mind as you respond to questions. If you talk to a lawyer or a friend about how do I get out of this, put that out of your mind. You may also think, well, yeah, but you know, if I knew the judge or if I could get out of this. Well, let me tell you something. Things at the judge's house are a little chilly right now, and it isn't to do with the weather. We have a jury trial Friday. My wife is one of the prospective jurors. My daughter, our youngest daughter, graduates from high school Saturday. My in-laws are coming in tonight from Michigan. My other children that live away are all coming in, and my wife said, "Can't you get me out of this?" I said, "No." I'm hoping by July 4th, with the Declaration of Independence, things may warm up at my house, but until then, so don't assume that you've been picked on. Even my wife got picked on, and she has to be here Friday for another jury that we're conducting. So, is everybody ready to proceed? Good. Everybody, if you are, hold up your paddle. Get a little practice going. Okay, very good. Look, it is hard to see some of the folks way in the back, so not only will I ask you to hold up your paddle or your sign, but please back there, if you'd stand up. Your answers are very important, and we don't want to miss you. If we do overlook you, let one of the staff know so that we can follow up. Are both attorneys ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you will first be addressed by Mr. Cunningham for the state of Kansas. The reason is the state always goes first in a criminal case because the state has the burden of proof.
Do you want to show the courtroom so she's got it up in
Oh,
first?
does she have it up? Okay. Very good. Thank you. See, Sandy's still keeping track of me. If you look up at the screen, you will see the Ellis County courtroom. And The reason we're showing this is you can see we have plexiglass around every chair. This is part of the COVID precautions and protections that we've put in place. The sound system is very good. We've enhanced that. We've had several juries. All of our jurors have told us that the experience was not that unpleasant, that they felt that the plexiglass gave adequate protection. And however, if you're claustrophobic or you feel that the plexiglass would make you, distract you from being able to observe or listen to the evidence, we wanted you to at least take a look. When we pick the jurors today, we will go to the courtroom this afternoon for the presentation of evidence, and that's where the trial will occur. So that gives you a little view of what it looks like. Again, we're about ready to start voir dire. Please be truthful in your answers. You'll be addressed again by Mr. Cunningham first because the state has the burden of proof, and that'll be followed by Ms. Stewart on behalf of the defendant. So, Mr. Cunningham, you may examine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You forgot your preemptory question. Ellis County 18.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Everybody, is everybody a resident of Ellis County? If you're not a resident of Ellis County, raise your paddle. You may think that's an odd question, but some of you may be aware there are people that have an Ellis address, but they actually live in Trigo County. And years ago, it wasn't me, it was Judge Bucher, had a trial, and they didn't find out till the third day, I think it was, that one of the jurors came and said, by the way, you know, I live in Trigo County, even though I have an Ellis address. They had to declare a mistrial and start the whole case over. So I always ask that question. So anyway, now you'll be addressed by Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before we jump too far into anything, I guess we should make sure that there's no conflicts and there's nobody who knows anyone that would potentially prejudice this case. So let's start with me, an Ellis County attorney assigned to this case. Is there anyone out there who knows me in a way that could potentially make them less than impartial or make them biased? If you know me, more than just a passing knowledge, but in a way that you think will influence your judgment, please go ahead and hold up your paddle nice and high. Okay, I'm not seeing any paddles. Let's talk about my office. So my boss is Robert Anderson Jr., and I do note from the questionnaires that some of you are aware of Mr. Anderson. Does anyone know Robert Anderson Jr. or have a relationship with him that would influence your ability to be fair and impartial today? If so, go ahead and raise your paddle. Okay, seeing none. Also in our office is Charlene Brubaker, and again, I noted that a couple of you put down on your questionnaires that you know Miss Brubaker. Does anyone have a relationship with her that would influence your judgment and your ability to be impartial in this hearing today? Seeing no paddles, okay. Another individual in our office is Brenda Baskell. I noted that a few of you said that you were aware of Miss Baskell. Does anyone have a relationship with Brenda Baskell that would cause them to be less than impartial today? Okay, seeing no paddles, we'll go ahead and move on to some of the witnesses that the state anticipates calling in today's trial. First, we'll call Captain Scott Walker of the Kansas Highway Patrol. I believe he's stationed out in the Salina, Kansas area. Is anyone familiar with Captain Walker or have knowledge of him that would cause you to be less than impartial? Anyone got a speeding ticket by him and is really cheesed off with him? Okay. Yes, please make sure you can see the screen to view the pictures in case it jogs a memory. All right, I didn't see any paddles on Captain Walker. We'll go ahead and move to the next witness. Courtney Feldbauer, she is with the KBI lab. She is a chemist. Anyone have any familiarity with Miss Feldbauer that would cause you to be less than impartial? Okay, not seeing any paddles. And then the third potential witness the state might call today is Tiffany Rael. Is anyone familiar with Tiffany Rael in a way that would cause you to be less than impartial? All right, seeing no panels. Now, as the judge pointed out, we have reviewed the questionnaires, and I am going to go through, for the sake of time, and just follow up with a few of you. Sometimes these questionnaires are a little bit long, and sometimes you get into a habit of marking yeses or marking nos, and then they kind of switch the question format. So I just want to follow up. It doesn't mean that you necessarily did anything wrong. It just means that I want to seek a little bit of clarification on something. And if I don't follow up with you, please don't be offended by that. I would love to sit and talk with each and every one of you, but I'm sure you guys don't want to sit here all day and wait for me to do that. So I'm just going to follow up with those that I have specific questions. So starting with juror number 1, appropriately enough, I show juror number 1 that you do have some prior jury experience, but on your form you marked that you were unable to reach a verdict. Is that correct?
Correct.
And was that because the jury couldn't come to agreement, or did the trial end in some other way?
It ended another way.
Okay, all right. So that answers my question, I suppose. So thank you, juror number 1. The next juror I'd like to follow up with, skipping way ahead, is juror number 12. Juror number 12, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, fair.
Fair. I note that you maybe have some concerns with sitting for long periods of time, some chronic pain. How are you holding up so far this morning?
Oh, doing good so far.
Okay. Typically, in the course of a trial, we take breaks about every hour, maybe an hour and a half at the most. Would you have any concerns with sitting for that long?
It should work out. Yeah.
Okay. So as long as we're able to give you breaks. Another thing that I know the court allows is if you need to be positioned in the back, if standing would help, we can also do that. Would you be able to serve as a juror if you were permitted to stand and stretch every once in a while?
I think so.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about your any physical pain inhibiting your ability to concentrate throughout this trial if you were selected?
Well, that's hard to say, but, because, right now, mornings are normally the most stiff and sore, and then it'll loosen up a little bit, but it just depends on day to day.
Okay. Do you, would you be able to make us aware if you are starting to experience some stiffness so that we can accommodate? Okay. And if we were able to do that, would you think you'd be able to serve as a juror?
I think so, yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Moving now to juror number 13. Juror number 13, I noted in your questionnaire that you marked that you may have some concerns that would prevent you from focusing at a trial. Is that still true today?
The seasonality of my job and everything, I take it very seriously, and I do try to put a lot of effort into it, as everybody I'm sure here does. I don't feel that it would make me in any way necessarily be any less impartial towards being a juror.
So do you believe that you could concentrate on the evidence and sit and deliberate without being distracted by whatever's going on at work?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions for you then. Moving now to juror number 22. And juror number 22, I think you already answered this question in your silence, but I showed that you do have a relationship, or you do know Charlene Brubaker. What is the nature of that relationship?
Just friendship. I haven't seen Charlene for probably 2 years.
Okay.
So nothing current.
And with that in mind and knowing that she's not a part of this trial, would that have any influence on your ability to be fair and impartial?
No influence.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I might interrupt for just a second. I should have probably mentioned this earlier. This trial is anticipated to finish tomorrow. So as you're making, in your mind, running through how long is this going to take, it's set for 2 days. We'll start evidence this afternoon, and we expect to finish tomorrow.
Next, I'd like to go to juror number 28. And juror number 28, I show on your questionnaire that you maybe had some concerns about serving on the same jury with friends or people you know. Is that still a concern you have?
No.
Okay. That answers that question. Then also, would you be able to evaluate this case only on the evidence presented over the course of the trial?
Yes.
Okay. And then, I think that's actually all the questions that I have for you. So thank you very much. One thing I want to address with all of you is, as you can see now, I'm not wearing a mask, and the reason for that is we're doing an audio recording as well as having this transcribed. It makes for a clearer audio recording, less muffled if I'm not wearing a mask. I became aware throughout the COVID pandemic that mask envy, or I guess lack of mask envy, is a thing. Would anyone, I guess, think less of me or hold it against me for not having to wear a mask during certain points while you all still have to wear a mask? Is there anyone who would just really hold that against me and use that against me? If so, go ahead and hold up your paddle. Don't be afraid to hold up your paddle and express hatred towards me. People do it all the time. All right, seeing no paddles. I guess the last question that I want to ask everyone is, as the judge has said, jury trials are all about giving a fair trial to both the state and the defendant. Is there anyone sitting here today who's just thinking in their heart of hearts, I really shouldn't be on this jury? If I was the one who was the defendant in this, I wouldn't want someone like me sitting on their jury because of some prejudice, some distraction, something that's interfering with your ability to be fair and impartial. Anyone in their heart of hearts have concerns about being here and serving as a juror on this trial? Go ahead and show your paddle.
Number 29.
Okay?
Oh, never mind, hang on.
Never mind? Okay. Anyone at all? Something gnawing at you, telling you that you should not be here? All right, seeing no paddles, at this time, I think I'm prepared to pass for a cause, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Stewart?
Thank you, Judge. I'll probably sit, but if you need to see me, I'll stand up. I'm a little shorter than he is. My name is Sheryl Stewart. I am a practicing attorney, mainly out of Oakley, Kansas. I didn't recognize any of your names or anything, but does anybody recognize me? I know it's hard. We got a post in the middle here, but does anybody recognize me from anything? Probably not. Oh, number 29? No, what?
25.
25, I'm sorry. How do you recognize me, ma'am?
I'm Nikki from the Trio County Jail.
Ah, hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Well, knowing me from the Trigo County Jail, where I come to visit people sometimes, will that affect your ability to be fair and impartial?
I don't believe so.
Thank you. Yeah, because I can't even barely see the top of your head from where I'm standing, so that's why I ask if anybody could see me, if I need to move around. No? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sit now. Thanks. The elephant in the room here is this is a drug case, and it can be kind of touchy sometimes with drug cases. Is there anybody here on the panel And raise your paddle. If you've had anybody in your family that has been affected by the drug, I guess I'd have to say epidemic, if not a pandemic in its own right, that we're dealing with. Does anybody have anybody in your family that's been addicted to some kind of narcotic or drug? If you have, raise your paddles, please. And I'm going to kind of go from the paddles. The first one I see, number 40, way in the back. I'm going to start in the back and work forward. Be a little easier.
Number 40.
Number 40, was that a family member?
Yes, my son.
Your son, sir? Did that involve any way, shape, or form the legal system?
Yes,
Was your son prosecuted for drugs?
yes,
Would that affect your ability to be fair and impartial in this jury trial today?
no,
Thank you, sir. Was there anybody else in the back? I see number
Number
20.
39.
Okay, 39.
41, I'm sorry.
41. Number 41, was that a family member?
Yes, several of them.
Did any of them end up being prosecuted for the drug usage?
Yes.
Would that affect your ability to be fair and impartial?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. And then I see number 27 has raised his paddle. Was that a family member, sir?
Yes, my brother.
And would that affect your ability to, well, let me ask this, was that person prosecuted for drug usage?
I don't believe so, but I was a small child at the time, so.
Okay. Would that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror, sir?
No.
Thank you. I know there's some more toward the front.
25.
Number 25, was that a family member?
A family member of a family member.
Okay. Was it close enough that it had any kind of effect on you?
Yes.
Would that affect was that person prosecuted for that crime?
Yes.
Would that affect your ability to be fair and impartial?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Next, I know there's some more. Number 9?
yes,
And sir, was that a family member?
daughter,
Was that person prosecuted?
no,
Okay.
she just went through rehab,
Would that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror?
no,
Okay. And I know number 3's got hers up, number 6?
6 did.
Number 6 is up, has her paddle up. And ma'am, was that a family member?
Yes.
And were they prosecuted?
No.
Would the situation with the drugs, would that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror?
No.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And number 3, was that a family member?
Yes.
And were they prosecuted for that situation?
Yes.
And would that affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror?
I don't believe so.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody on the panel that is relatively new to the state of Kansas? Maybe I'm the newest one. I moved out here in 1981. But is anybody not on the panel, not from the state of Kansas? If you're not from Kansas, raise your paddle. Wow. Okay, nobody raised their paddle. That's cool. Okay. Does anybody here on the panel have a family member, whether it's a child or a spouse, that requires special attention, that you have to have outside help to take care of? Raise your paddle. I see number 32.
I have a child at home with cerebral palsy.
And Ma'am, do you require special assistance to help take care of the child?
Yes.
And as part of that, do you ever take any respite care for yourself, like leave for a day, let the child with anybody else?
No, I have not.
Okay. Would the fact that you have a child with special needs affect your ability to be fair and impartial?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else that I didn't see? You know what, I don't see any paddles raised. They indicated that this should be a fairly short trial, as trials go. So I guess this will be your last chance. This is the bucket question. Is there anybody on the panel that has anything going on outside this courtroom that will affect your ability to be fair and impartial, that will take your mind away, even though it's, like I said, a short trial, but you've got a sick relative, you've got something happening in your life, no matter what it is, it's going to take your attention away from what's going on in the trial? No paddles are raised? Okay, I have one more. Is there, last question, for real. Is there anybody on the panel that, for whatever reason, we don't need to know it per se, but for whatever reason, doesn't feel that they can sit there and be a juror in this case? As the judge indicated, sometimes people are better suited for some cases than other cases. But is there anything on your mind or anything about this situation that you wouldn't want you to be a juror on your own case? That situation's going on, please raise your paddle. I see no paddles raised, Judge. I'd pass for cause.
All right. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that went much quicker than I think even the court expected, and for that, I want to extend my appreciation to both attorneys. Here's what happens. This is a 12-person jury, and by law, each side is entitled to strike 6 prospective jurors. All right, it's called a preemptory challenge. They will do that in private with the court, but it's on the record. So what we will do is we are going to recess briefly. I would ask all of you can stand up, mill around, use the bathroom. Please do not leave the bottom floor area, though. I'm not sure. We'll probably take 20 minutes, counsel, be sufficient?
Should be, Judge.
All right. We'll take about a 20-minute recess for the attorneys to decide who the 12 will be that will try the case. We'll reassemble. There we go. We'll reassemble, and the court will then announce the 12 jurors, and we'll give you instructions on how we're going to proceed from there. All right, so again, I'm going to give you what's called a cautionary instruction. You know a little bit about the case because we gave you a brief factual statement in your special questionnaire. You've heard today that this is a drug case. That is one of the charges involved. So you know a little bit about it. Please do not discuss the case or any of the questions that were asked here today among yourselves or with anybody else, okay? If you're selected as a juror, you will get that precautionary instruction at every recess. That's what the law requires, because the only time you're allowed to discuss the facts or the case will be when you're in the jury room in deliberations, and we haven't reached that point yet. So thank you. Remain on this floor, and we will be back with you in